Beautiful, isn't it? And so popular among young professionals like yourself. Of course, I live here, so I can't claim to be impartial. But I also represent clients from other towns. Suburb Hills, Upper Outskirts, Bedroom Springs, Brawlville.
We heard Bedroom Springs is very nice.
Iffy. I mean, it's nice, but it's not suburb. It doesn't have what we have.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nick Moss, and I'm going to show you my community from this cell phone tower up there. It's pretty easy to get up. You just gotta jump this fence here, then you just climb up the ladder.
When we bought out here, we were really excited about the idea, but as you can see, we've been here for over a year and it's still really under construction. So it'll take a while for it to feel like the community that we would like it to be, that we sort of bought into. And
yeah, this is my neighborhood from up here. Evergreen. I live just over in there-ish. It's one of those houses in there. Every time I come up here, it seems to have changed a whole lot. My new school is getting built right over there, but by the time it's finished, I'll be out of high school, so.
Looking for a place you'd want to call your own. Looking for a place that's always growing, not overgrown.
Searching for the finest schools, playgrounds and pools, sensible zoning with rational rules.
Thanks, Oliver. Let's deal with the music number later. You're the agent. You're trying to sell the place.
we picked this one specifically because it didn't have a cell phone tower. Like we're looking at a bunch of communities, and most of them had a cell phone tower. But then now here we are at the gate of the community, and there's a cell phone tower. And I don't know if it's psychosomatic or what, but every time I drive by the thing, my teeth start to tingle. I know it sounds crazy, but I can feel it now even.
Our power center, the shopping place we always go to, it's way down there. Oh, I guess you can't really see it. Oh, there's this gas station over here where my friend Randy, he was hit by a car. This big SUV. He wasn't killed or anything, but he fractured his pelvis. It's a pretty major injury.
But it'll be a community soon. It'll be what we want it to be really soon.
It's not a very good idea to stay up here too long. It is a cell tower, and I don't want to get a brain tumor. So, I'm gonna get down now. Okay. So this is my sister Jennifer. She's 10 years old.
If I sat down, we could fly around the world 2,000 times. Oh, if I sat down, baby, just wrong. I'd take me by surprise. If I had changed my mind, would I be here? If I had changed my mind, would I be here?
My mom says being by the cell tower makes her teeth tingle.
Anyway, this is our house.
Yeah, it's our house.
I think we've lived here a year now, just over a year. So far, I don't know really anyone who lives around us. I don't know them. I know their dog, but I've never seen the owners. I don't really I don't really know anyone in this vicinity.
My name's Evan Moss. I'm Anne's husband. Where I grew up, there was, these huge trees in front of the house, all the way along the street. And it had like these, I guess, what we used to call them boulevards, like little patches of grass from your sidewalk out to the road. So there was trees there, and they would touch each other. They would meet. The trees on both sides of the road would meet, right? So I don't know, that's what I picture when I think of a home. But I don't remember my parents asking me, hey, do you like living in this neighborhood? I mean, that's just where we lived, right? I mean, I want to do the best for my kids. I want them to be happy, but so this is the arrangement we have now, you know?
I'm Ken Greenberg. I'm an urban designer based in Toronto. I'm standing here in a beautiful little main street in an older town that grew up before it was a suburb. It has just about the right proportion of street devoted to cars, sidewalks for walking. It has a mix of stores, smaller ones, larger ones, people living over the stores. All the things that we would like to have in a congenial, small town environment, which the suburbs aspire to. It's turned out to be one of the hardest things to recreate in a new setting.
I'm James Howard Kunstler. I'm the author of The Geography of Nowhere, Home from Nowhere, and The Long Emergency. 80% of everything ever built in North America has been built in the last 50 years. And most of it is brutal, depressing, ugly, unhealthy, and spiritually degrading. The Jive Plastic commuter tract home wastelands, the Potemkin Village shopping plazas with their vast parking lagoons, the gourmet mansardic junk food joints, the Orwellian office parks featuring buildings sheathed in the same reflective glass as the sunglasses worn by chain gang guards. The whole agoraphobia-inducing, toxic, brutal spectacle that politicians like to call growth.
Well, this is Copperfield.
At one point it might have been a copperish field of wheat or something, but
yeah, now it's kind of just like a community of
suburbs got put over it, I guess.
Well, we definitely needed a bigger house with 3 kids. At that time, the baby was just a year old. So with Anne, I mean, she always wanted a new house. Everything had to be brand new. So there's only so many communities where you can get that, and usually they're pretty far out. I mean, ones where we can afford to buy the house. I mean, I suppose you could fix up an older house in the city, but it would cost a bloody fortune, right? So those are the options we had. So we end up in Evergreen.
Humans have always found meaning by living together with each other. And in fact, if you go back millennia, many political theorists from Aristotle on think that community is what defines us as who we are. And without community, we're less than ourselves. We're either beasts or gods, he says. Well, since most of us are not gods, we probably end up being beasts if we don't have other people around. Cities grow up as, over the course of centuries, a grand migration of people towards the kinds of diversity, excitement, and opportunity that close proximity of other humans offers them. The fascinating thing about the development of the suburbs as an ex-urban or anti-urban form of building is that it is the reverse movement under the conditions of the urban. That is, people have come together seeking each other, and now they're fleeing from each other into isolation.
This is Cranston.
Yeah, this is Cranston.
It was named after the farmer who used to have this land, and then they got his land and they've built this community on it.
Cranston.
The paradox of the suburbs is that we go there seeking something, a kind of idol, which is impossible to achieve, and then find ourselves stranded there in these awful environments.
I think the most unhelpful idea is the thought that people who move to the suburbs are somehow brainwashed, or that they've made a mistake, or that they're the victims of advertising or something like that, that there's an error. And after they've lived there for a couple of years, that they're suddenly going to realize, oh my God, I made this huge mistake. People themselves who live in suburbia know backwards and forwards the critique of suburbia, yet they still live in the suburbs. The fact is that people live in suburbs because they have incentives to do so, and there are things that they want about the suburbs. And as long as suburbs continue to offer those attractive characteristics, like a very large home with a backyard, with a reasonable cost of property, and reasonable access to city and countryside, as long as those things are available, people are going to keep buying them.
So this is my house. Welcome to my home. This is the foyer, and these are the stairs, obviously. That's where most people put their laundry rooms and stuff, but I wanted the laundry downstairs. I don't like doing laundry on the floor where everybody lives, so we made a little office there. And that's the basement, and here is the main living space, and here's Emma. This is the room where we spend most of our time. The kids can come and play in here and do their homework and stuff at the dining room table. This is my favorite room in the whole place. This is where I spent most of our time when we were planning the build of the house. I wanted these little compartment shelves and stuff like that, and the gas unit that I really, really wanted. And
so these are our electrical boxes.
And these are the phone boxes.
Yeah, those are the neighbors. These are ours.
But they're actually for the whole block.
Yeah. We get a special discount, I think, for having these on our lawn.
But they're not dangerous anyway. Like, I used to dance on top of them.
Despite the colorful danger sides.
So these are the bedrooms up here, the two older kids' bedrooms, and we've got a little sitting room back there, and here's the main bathroom and our bedroom, but I'm not gonna, as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit nervous about this. I'm not sure how this is all gonna work and how foolish you're gonna make me look. So anyway, I trust it'll be okay in the long run. So that's my house.
This is the postcard image of the suburban residential street. This is what everybody wants. These are individual houses that were built over time. This place grew organically. You can really walk to the shopping street where we were just a few minutes ago. You can walk to the train station. There's a school nearby. There are playgrounds, tennis courts. This is a real environment. And all of those pieces, not just the image of those pieces, are what you need to make a neighborhood. We've just come out of that beautiful environment, and we're standing here at the fault line. Just behind me is where, after World War II and the post-war decades, industrial strength suburbia opened up. The roads became wider. Everything was about the car. There were new standards for development, new zoning, huge development companies financed in a completely different way. We're just a block or two away from that older, small town, original suburbia that everyone wanted so much. And in this world, which is being created, applying all these new techniques and standards, something different has emerged, which barely resembles that earlier world.
Hi, I'm Peggy Scott. I'm Chaparral's #1 realtor. As you can see, I live in a community that has everything for everybody. It's probably one of the best communities that you can possibly want to live in. It has everything that a young family, middle-aged couple, or seniors could possibly need. The neighborhood itself is only within 2 minutes to a large power center. So whether you go by bus or by car, within a couple of minutes you're at one of the major shopping areas. lot of people don't even know this exists over here. All of a sudden to come down 130th and go, whoa, didn't even know this was out here. So I think that's what takes a lot of people. They move out here because of the different power centers. Everything's really close to where you live. You can walk. They have everything here. They have the large supermarkets, they have superstores, they have restaurants, tire stores. Everything you can imagine is in new power centers that just makes lifestyle living in any neighborhood a little bit easier. Why would you go anywhere else when you can come right here and stop and do all your shopping within minutes of where you live?
Come on up. I always try and park where I'm sort of in between everywhere I need to go so that I can not have to get back and forth into the car, that I can just run around, and that way you get enough exercise doing this every day. So you go between all the stores.
We're going far.
We're gonna go far.
Yeah.
So this is the schedule for the Moss family. This is what keeps us organized and running, and it's all color-coded.
I'm red.
And Nick is blue.
Emma's purple. Dad's green, Mom's orange.
Right. And then we've got the hearts are me, and Evan's car is the green. So the van is all the hearts, and the car is all the green. We do it month by month, and when we get to the end of this month, I will have already started to fill in the month that's coming. Otherwise, I won't, because it's too crazy, and I'll lose count. I'll lose.
So this is my school. It's a 20-minute bus ride here. If you wanted to take your bike from my house, you kind of have to find a more direct route. And, well, to be honest, I haven't even tried yet. Yeah, I'm new here, so all the kids, I don't know too many people yet. I haven't made too many friends, but I'm sure that will happen. You know how it is. At first I really liked the moving idea, moving to a new house. It's new, a big new house. It's kind of great, you think, but then after you do it, you regret doing it because you miss your old house. And it was in a really convenient place for me, and everything just gets more complicated out here. I guess some change is kind of inevitable, though.
Yeah, 2 hours a day, I guess. But I don't mind it, really. It sounds weird, right? Because there's 50,000 cars around us, but it's my time alone. I think about stuff, think about what I have to do for the day, think about my life. I listen to my music, that's great. I find it sounds weird, but it's kind of meditative.
Suburbia is essentially a kind of a monofunctional environment where people sleep and then they have to travel to work. You can literally get into your SUV in your garage, travel all the way through the city in these new highways that join suburban communities with the center where people work, enter the garage of the office tower where you work, come up a mechanical elevator, and enter into your own office cubicle without ever coming face to face with one other individual. So a city that propagates a suburban model is a city that in some ways propagates pure private space as opposed to any notion of a public space. And when you have a city that is, again, the suburban city, and you only advocate private space, you get to the point where people cannot tolerate one another because we don't understand each other's views. We no longer have a perspective on what other people think. We only have an investment in the way we think. And so in some ways, a suburban city can be understood as an intolerant city.
What is it doing to the very idea of citizenship when we don't share public spaces with each other and we spend no time whatsoever in any kind of communion with our fellow citizens? And this isn't just about the car. I mean, the car is a handy bashing point, but it's not about the car. It's about the way we have chosen to live. My particular worry, I guess, would be the deteriorating sense of citizenship when people live so isolated from themselves.
Here we are in the pleasing rest area of the bike trail where the easy motoring utopia meets nature. Some clown in an office somewhere thought that this would be a good idea, and that's why it's here, not because anybody really tested whether or not people would feel good here. And in fact, it's really an amazingly brutal environment. Where did we get the idea that chain link was a pleasing ornamental material? It's really suitable for dog runs and scrap yards and prisons. So what you get here really is sort of the ambiance of riot in cell block D. The assault upon your neurology is really impressive, and you really have to be here to appreciate it.
I think I'm making the best of the situation. Like, it's a nice neighborhood. I mean, the house is great. It's bigger. It's what we needed, so.
The trees will grow. I mean, they'll.
Yeah, I know, like landscaping, it'll be, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting around the house feeling sorry for myself all the time. I mean, we're doing the play, right? Mm-hmm. Ken's in the play, I don't know if you know that, but...
it's called Suburb the Musical.
So we're doing that, right? That's keeping us busy, right? Keeping us out of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
So,
more or less.
Master, teach me your culture. Give me a start of your magical culture. Slice me, dice me, trim me, give me lots of time.
Holy crap.
That's where I was going. Well, I think we've only done like 3 shows, right? And most of these they call character parts, which usually means you're a crappy actor. But anyway, so I don't know why I got this role, but
he's great.
I'm the co-creative director, whatever that means for the theater group. So that's why I helped pick the play and that. But it's a really funny show. I kind of found it on the internet. I was looking around and just stumbled on this thing. And I was telling him it's kind of like Stephen Sondheim meets Rocky Horror Picture Show meets The Simpsons, right?
We'll just leave the door because Emma's sleeping. Okay. Evan's the one who's creating all this tension over the move, being really passive-aggressive about things. And this is the play they pick.
It's musical.
I mean, I don't know, would you say it makes fun of the suburbs? It pokes fun at the suburbs? I mean, but it's not really satire, right?
Well, there's some satirical moments, yeah, I'd say.
Okay, there's a lot of satire, but anyway, no, it's, but I mean, it's got some really good parts to it too, like make you think about a lot of stuff. And I mean, let's face it, there's not things to laugh about in the suburbs, like, I mean...
I am blue. I'm trying to get myself off this as much as possible. I brushed into this thing once and it was a complete disaster. Mom noticed right away. It was a catastrophe. She had to spend more hours on it, reworking it and fixing it to get it back the way it was. I think I'll quit soccer. Yeah. few slight adjustments.
The 20th century was kind of a nervous breakdown for architecture. The builders forgot what to do, the customers forgot what to ask for, and what we ended up with was a kind of cartoonification of our buildings. In this case, the bridal chapel in a mall behind me, a kind of a hybrid neoclassical French mansardic building with all the details gotten sort of wrong, and it all ends up looking like it was sort of half submerged in a hurricane starting from the second floor. There's a clownish, cartoonish aspect to these vistas of suburbia, but also a tragic element. Because what you're seeing here is the greatest misallocation of resources in the history of the world. And in the energy scarce future that we're facing, they're probably not going to work very well.
Suburbia, of course, has places to live, places to work, and places to shop, and it's got schools. And traditional urbanism has all three as well. So it's not the functions that are different, it's actually how they're laid out, how they're disposed on the landscape. In the conventional suburban system, all the houses are in suburban pods by single income. They're cookie cutter subdivisions. That's where people live. And some of them live in townhouses all in one spot, and some of them live in houses all in another spot, and some of them live in mansions elsewhere, in golf course communities, but single income. They're monocultures. And then there are the shopping centers, in which you actually go to the shopping center, and the only thing you can do there is shop. And then you go to the office park, and all you can do there is work. And sometimes you can't even get lunch, so you have to drive to lunch somewhere else. So they've taken what make up the traditional town, which is the places of living, the places of working, the places of shopping, and the civic buildings like schools and churches, and disaggregated them. Suburbia disaggregates the elements of daily life, so you have to drive from one to the other.
This is my friend Terry. I live in Mackenzie, which is just over that wall. That's westish. So this is the westest side of Evergreen.
One of the aspects of my work that I've been concentrating on a lot recently is this issue of walkability in neighborhoods. What we've been finding is that over the past 40 or 50 years, suburban design has really failed us in terms of walkability.
That's east. Yeah.
The neighborhoods that were constructed before World War II have a really walkable environment. There's usually sidewalks that are provided on all of the streets and boulevards with trees that give you a feeling of shelter and shade and a really comfortable environment. But there's also places to go. There's convenience stores, there's schools and churches, and just a mix of uses that urbanists everywhere have been advocating, but it's pretty difficult to build now.
That's south. I had a friend that lived on this side of the freeway, and then another one that lived over there, and it's a big distance apart. And they used to send messages to each other in Morse code.
They probably could have just phoned each other, but it was a fun game to send secret code.
Yeah, they used like flashlights and like the windows.
This would mean like dance.
Yeah, sort of thing.
In our North American environments, the cars are the most important things. There's a convenience store behind me, and that's the only store that's offered to this neighborhood. And the only way you can really get there and feel comfortable is in a car. That's a pretty mean environment. If we're just building places that don't have a lot of options for shopping, for going and picking up a liter of milk, buying a newspaper.
My boundary This is the furthest north I can go.
Right
I
there.
can't cross the road. You're not allowed. On that side, they're going to be building the new part of the community. And
No, it's a whole new community.
yeah, it'll have its own name and everything.
No, we
No.
don't know what it's going to be called.
The people have probably made the name. It's just there's no signs up of what it's going to be called yet.
Well, for the first 6 months we moved in, this was beautiful. It was all fields and some standing trees in it, and then and behind in the distance, I don't think you can see it, but there's mountains all along there. So that was our view. Then they put up all these houses, right? They started building. But I don't know, I was saying to Ann, I think if you look through that window of that guy's house, and if he had his front door open, I think you can see the mountains, you know, because they're right there. Yeah, anyway, she didn't think it was funny either.
Well, she takes everything. Everything offends her, it seems. Anything we say about the community she doesn't want to hear it, right? Because we're out here and we're here to stay, so it's stupid to complain about it, I guess. But you know what? I bet you Mom doesn't. If Mom could move into the inner city and have a nice house, she would. It's just that we can't, so. And I guess we both know that. It's just the situation we're in just sucks, and I guess we're complaining when we don't really, there's no other way anyway.
They need to find something to complain about, so they're picking on the house and they're picking on the neighborhood. That's all. I don't know. It's not like they're, well, they have kind of blamed me a little bit, I think, or it feels like it sometimes, you know, they put it on me, but
One of the things that happens when you buy into your little suburban dream house and you look at the contract and so forth is they're not appearing, but part of the contract is that you shall buy one car for each adult. You know, it says it describes the lot, it describes the square footage, but it doesn't say, oh, and by the way, to operate in this place, you need to have one car per adult. The fact is that about half of North Americans don't have access to a car. They're either too old, too young, or too poor to drive. And that is tremendously disempowering when really for your daily needs, you're dependent upon others.
I'm Karen Johnson, and this is my daughter Nicole. And we live in the townhouses there, which I guess they call the Mosaic. And we've been there just for a little while, and it's okay. I don't mind it. I like it. And well, it's a long way out, but it's nice to have your own place. So the landfill's right there. That's always a lovely added feature, especially on a nice windy day.
Yeah. Just
even in the wintertime, there's nothing like frozen garbage coming. You know when you have that freezer smell when you open up your fridge and it's kind of got that, what is that? That's kind of what it's like. It's very, very bad. Oh well.
Now, this is where the developer has achieved the higher densities that are required these days in most of the land use bylaws, but they've clumped it all in one corner. Oftentimes you find these large multifamily dwellings at the corners or on the edges of neighborhoods where they provide a sort of a sound attenuation function, and they also block the blight of a highway or of a big box retail center that most people will agree isn't a real visual amenity. And they also set up a kind of social apartheid where the multifamily areas are really seen as being much less desirable than the single family developments. And here they're even separated by a large field. So it's really clear what's been established here is a two-tiered neighborhood where you really know your place.
You know, we did We did live in subsidized housing for a while, which was great. You know, single mom, they try to help you out, but it's just not great, you know. What ends up happening is that you just feel so bad about living there that you just really have to find your own place. And so where do you find your own place that's affordable?
I didn't mind the subsidized housing thing as much, but you know,
I think it's safer where we are.
Despite having to stand at the bus stop.
I know that you disagree, but I really think that it's safer. I just think that, you know, you're with all those people and you just, it just attracts all kinds of people, and some of them you don't necessarily want for your neighbors. And so here, chances are that they're not going to be crackheads living next door to you.
This is a home that I've just listed on the lakeside of Chaparral. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath, 2-story home with a double front attached garage. It's basically a starter home on this side of the lake. It backs onto a park. It's about 1,750 square feet. It would be ideal for a first-time homeowner or possibly a young family with their first home.
This is future church or single-family housing. The people here, I think they'd rather a church here because they already have a whole bunch of single-family housing along there.
What I don't get is how do you know which one it's gonna be? Like, what if you just want single-family housing and not the church, or vice versa? How does that work?
I call this a move-up home. It's a home on the lakeside again. However, it's a little bit larger home, probably a total square footage living space of about 2,500 square feet. It has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, family room, a few more upgrades. We get a lot of people in this area that move from one home to another. As the years go, they just move to larger homes.
This is the future daycare or single-family housing.
$10 says it's gonna be single-family housing.
We're a lake community, so basically all the recreation that you can possibly need is right here in the neighborhood. The kids don't have to go out of the neighborhood to find things to do, or the seniors for that matter. In the area we have a large lake. At the lake you can go swimming, you can go boating. I've actually taken all of my scuba diving courses at the lake and I've got certified there. It's a facility of all things that you can possibly want. This home is actually located right on the lake at Lake Chaparral, so of course it's the upper scale of the homes that are in this community. It has its own private dock. It has full lake access right out your back door. It's sort of the home that I would like to have, but haven't managed to get there yet.
Escape from Mexico, we usually escape to Mexico. Escape to Mexico.
Escape to Mexico is pretty much when you have as many guys as you have, and then you have one guy who shoots at them while they try to escape.
This one time we only had one gun, so it was pretty pointless. We just had like 3 people running around screaming in a field while the other guy shot at them.
We do a lot of work in subdivisions. We're contracted by builders to maintain basically order, to make sure that thieves don't take lumber and materials that belong to the contractors and the builders. So we also want to make sure that kids don't get into mischief and maybe fall in a hole. People think that the community is public property, when in fact it is private property and it is owned by the developers.
This is Bordeaux. It's
It's a wine, a place in France, and a place in Cranston. But my brother's friend Hong thinks it's Bordeaux.
Gymnastics, man. Here's a tip for you if you have kids. Don't do the gymnastics thing, okay? Because it's like 4 times a week they practice. And it seems like there's some competition going on like every second weekend or something. If you added up all the miles that we put on to take her to gymnastics, it would blow your mind. I wouldn't even want to calculate it.
Well, I do gymnastics Monday to Friday, except for Tuesday and Wednesday, 3 days a week for 4 hours. And then I have karate on Saturday, piano on Wednesday. Tuesday's kind of my friend or homework day.
It needs to be a little bit more organized for them now. It's not like they can run and play the way I could, you know. They need to be supervised a little bit more. So, and she likes it.
The popular mantra is that suburbia is great for kids, but kids older than 7 need more than just a place to ride their bikes. They need to develop this thing called their personal sovereignty, their ability to manage themselves in their own environment and to know how to get home from their friends' houses on their own, to know how to get to a store and make a purchase of something. They need connection to civic and commercial and social amenities, and they need to be able to develop themselves socially this way. And they don't get that in these car-dependent places where they absolutely depend on the family chauffeur, mom, to take them from one place to another all the time.
When I was a kid, we just hung out. That's all. We didn't have all these activities, but it wasn't all fun and games. I mean, we'd get into trouble. We'd go hang out behind the skating rink, the shack at the skating rink, and smoke. And we were in grade 6, for God's sake, you know. That's not a better activity than going to gymnastics or learning piano, you know. I certainly don't want my kids for that to be a choice, you know. They have the choice that they can do piano or dance or gymnastics or something like that. It's different. It's different now. I think it's better that they're learning stuff and not just, I don't know, starting fires and stuff like that.
Okay, so this is a movie. It was Kyle's idea. We did it for a talent contest. See how many paintballs Kyle could take. It got disqualified from the talent show, but we convinced our teacher to show it to just our class, and it went over really well.
Be able to withstand.
4. You're not kidding.
Can we tie you to the tree?
And we were debating whether to tie him to the tree because we thought he might, instinct would be to run.
Faster than you.
Yeah, and we have...
See, Kyle's holding a bag there. It was my idea. We were going to put a bag on his head with a happy face on it to make it seem less violent, but Kyle didn't want to wear the bag.
What? Okay, what? Kyle's brain just kicked in as of now.
This was originally just for comical, use, but then Mr. Muldoon thought, wow, you have some nice dark overtones, so I think that's interesting. Oh, and here we go.
Oh, here we go.
And there's the one that hits you in the cup.
And there's one that's like a kill shot head.
Yeah.
There it is.
Jesus Christ.
That's like the most painful thing I've seen.
You want a breather, Kyle?
It was pretty silent and tense until Hong started atrociously laughing, and it broke the mood, and everyone started laughing.
I don't know why. It was just so funny.
Take off the shirt. Take off the shirt.
Just give me a second, okay?
Wide.
Kyle, I don't think I got all that. I'm kidding.
I didn't find that very funny.
That hurt. Oh, you got shot in the Karen cried after 2 balls.
How many welts did you count?
48 or 50, something like that.
And those are just the ones that left welts.
Don't shoot me anymore. I've had enough of shooting for a while.
We're horrible people.
And we are horrible people. We are horrible people. And then it just goes to credits.
Look at that, there it is. Our sign. Finally got it up. It's gonna get us some interest in the play. Sell a few tickets. You know, sometimes I'll have a really good idea whether I'm driving around or whatever, and you know, something really significant or, I don't know, profound, if you will, and you know, something that I really want to make a change, you know, so I should do that. That's something I should do. And then, you know, I get home, I sit on the couch, crack a beer, and if I can remember what the idea was, maybe Anne's not home and nobody to talk it through with, so, or, you know, and you start thinking, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, you know, what was it anyway? And, you know, maybe something with the kids, right? A crisis, something happens you got to deal with, and you never really get back to that idea, something to think through, and happens a lot. I mean, I don't think I'm like a great procrastinator, but, you know, life gets in the way of a lot of things. Life seems to happen to me a lot, you know. I don't know. What are you going to do, I guess?
Community becomes just a word in the overheated rhetoric of advertising for most of these developments. Community is shorthand for a cluster of houses with people inside them not talking to each other. It's not at all community in any meaningful or deep sense. So you can talk about the community of that named suburb or that tract, but in many cases, if not most, there's no community there.
The European paradigm is one where they live in very small, say, apartments, and those apartments are conceptually an extension of a much broader network that is the city itself. So the house is connected to the public square, is connected to restaurants, is connected to gardens and parks. And what's interesting about that is that the house becomes an extension of the city, and people's daily lives are really unfold within the city, and it's an engaging, participatory model. In contrast to that, the suburban paradigm is completely the opposite. In suburbia, the house is seen as a container that consumes the world. And so you get rooms like the media room where you're connected to the web, you're connected to satellite TV, and you project the world within that room. That model then conceptually is a model where the house literally and figuratively turns its back on the city or the street or any other notion that is public. And literally, when you look at these houses, what's interesting is you see the garage. You see the garage and you see a small front door. And when you think about how people occupy these houses, you're actually getting all the social spaces, the family room that is connected to the backyard. And so nobody's actually engaging the public sphere of those houses. There's no one looking at the street.
I think usually you end up meeting your neighbors through the kids. But you don't want to be too friendly with the kids. Right?
No.
Yeah, because there was this guy, remember I was telling you this guy in our other neighborhood?
Yeah.
And, he was friendly with kids. I mean, he used to like have his house all decked up at Halloween, and he was always playing road hockey, right? Like everybody knew him, all the kids knew him. But there was this abduction that happened, or anyway, this young girl disappeared from the neighborhood, and like that's the first guy they want to talk to, right? Is this guy who's friendly with the kids. So, Yeah, he. Anyway, the girl's father ended up taking her to California. It was one of these custody battles, right?
Yeah.
But he still has this label, right? He's friendly with the kids. So I'm not going to be doing that, I'll tell you.
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. I got this stuff just to boost the gas mileage, you know?
We talked about not working on the car.
Not working on the car.
That's working on the car.
No, it isn't. Jeez. Actually, I already did put some in.
Subconsciously or not, I don't know, whenever Evan ends up working on the car, it ends up in the shop. Something goes wrong with it. And we have an agreement that he won't work on the car. This family can't function without both cars on the road. We need to have both cars working. And if one's in the shop, it's just really difficult if he doesn't have both his car on the road as well as the van. It's too hard. It's impossible.
Is greener and grows with a nicer demeanor. Yours has a heart and a soul and a spirit. In the hum of the motor you hear it say,
Where's she? Fast.
Not bad. Lovingly, really lovingly at the beginning, you know, like, grass, right?
Mostly the calls we get are just kids looking for someone to talk to, you know? Like it's pretty much just, I mean, like the last call I just had was just a girl, she's babysitting her younger brother and couldn't get a hold of anyone, couldn't get a hold of her friends, and just wanted a voice on the other end of the phone that could, you know, pick up on what she was feeling and just be there for her, you know? And
wouldn't you say that, like, for every 10 calls like that, you get one really serious one where they have a pretty large issue that they need to discuss?
For every one
help.
Genuine crisis, you get a lot of just isolated kids, sad kids just needing to talk to someone.
Reluctant suburbanites, I like that. It's
Well,
good.
I mean, when I picked the play, I thought it would just be a lark. It'd be a lot of fun, but there are some concepts in there that really make you think. I mean, it's not just, you know, shtick about the suburbs. I mean, it's about growing older and where do you want to live, what kind of life you want to have.
I think it's like holding a big mirror up to them. I think they're going to respond. I hope that they'll walk away and take a good look at their own situation and environment. Whether that leads to a change or not, I'm just happy enough with the thought that they may think about it.
But I mean, that's not the reason we picked it. I mean, it's not like we're
not initially.
We're doing some kind of politically active theater, you know, for the suburbs, like Rock People's World or something. I mean, we just thought it'd be fun, and it's kind of a neat. There's a lot of neat songs in it. Hopefully, people take it in the spirit it's intended, and not, you know, what are you trying to say? You know, like, Evan, what are you trying to say, man?
Evan, I want you downstage. I'm going to have you lit in a spot for your solo. Okay, and just remember, lovingly. This is your lawn, okay?
Sometimes you know right away when it's a prank call, but once in a while you get these really good actors and they just keep you going with their story. And like this one girl, I was on the phone with her for maybe 20 minutes and I had raised my red flag, and like it was
like suicide
so
watch.
serious. It was insane. Then she starts laughing and hangs up the phone, and I was
you have to treat each call like it's not a prank call,
it's
even
the
if you know it is.
procedure, and
it's not even.
They have
I mean,
nothing better
it's
to
not,
do. They have nothing better to do than to waste.
Well,
it's not
just
entertainment.
Like, it's disrespectful.
For me, it's the idea of just getting so caught up in trying to achieve that ideal life. You know, the house, the family, the perfect lawn, the perfect vehicle, or 2 vehicles, or 3 vehicles, and not really taking the opportunity to enjoy what you have. You have this whole idea in your mind of what that life should be, and once you get there, it's now where do you go? Now what do you achieve? So you sort of live in it. You live in it, and you constantly sort of float on the surface of this perfect picture. And there's just nights when I just want to scream, and I just want to run out of the house and say, I've had enough. I've had enough. I want to enjoy my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, like when we moved out here. I mean, I've always lived in the city, but sometimes you don't let it in too far, I think. It's kind of scary, but, do you want to unravel your whole life and say, should I live here? Should I do that? Then you start, peeling it back pretty soon. It's like, should I be married or something? I don't know, no. Yeah, I mean, you think it, and then, you get on with the next morning, you got to drive the kids to school, and you got to, whatever, pay the bills and all that stuff, so,
What I love about suburbs, especially the newer ones, the more cinematic style suburbs, the ones that you feel like you're in a movie even if you're not. You're walking down a sidewalk, there's nobody around, or you're driving down one of those huge corporate-owned streets with a name that you can't remember. There's nobody to be seen. There's something kind of bizarre and post-apocalyptic about those things. So it's no surprise when you see something like a zombie movie that starts in just that kind of suburb.
We're going to Tina's.
She's sleeping over.
Yeah.
We're just outside of my house in Scenic Acres. Me and Nicole just got off the bus that we took from Dalhousie. We've lived here for 3 years now. I don't really know anyone because, well, on the count of we go to Central Memorial, which is all the way in the south, and pretty much hang out with all of the kids from that school. So the school's the center between us.
So we live on like polar opposite ends of the city, which makes getting around kind of tough. But
what can you do?
It's what it is.
Yeah, gotta accept it.
Yeah.
Hear that noise?
Yeah.
There's definitely something wrong with it. It's a lemon.
It messes up the whole schedule.
He ends up taking the bus. I end up having to change my schedule all around to make sure that the kids are covered. Getting them from school, making sure Nick gets to his friends, picking up his dry
The
cleaning.
hearts just have to keep going on, and all the green ones just disappear like magic.
It makes his life a lot easier to not have to do all that running around.
So you can give me a ride, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It is amazing, especially when you go to an older European city. It's amazing the way in which cities that were founded 1,000 years ago have sort of just expanded and adapted to growth. You just add on more and more layers and the city continues to grow. Whereas a lot of the places that we're building now, probably like a city like Atlanta is the best example of it. It's just not clear what you're going to do with it when it loses its charm.
You know, in subdivisions, everybody bought at the same time, and everybody gets old at the same time, and then everybody has kids at the same time, so they have a tremendous impact on schools. And then suddenly the kids all grow up and the schools are empty and have to be closed. You know, any monoculture is extremely dysfunctional.
They're too low density to be serviced by transit. And at the same time, the infrastructure is built in such a way that there's no way to effectively convert them to high density. And so these older suburbs find themselves really with genuinely the worst of all possible worlds, because they often wind up with downtown type traffic. And yet they're not configured in such a way as to adopt downtown solutions.
See, suburbia tends to either live or die. You know, the shopping center is either alive or dead, and you scrape it. It is incapable of natural successional evolution. It doesn't naturally densify because it doesn't have that marvelous grid that allows the same infrastructure at one point to contain shacks and then 150 years later contain high-rises. Suburbia doesn't have them. Suburbia has pods. Suburbia has cul-de-sacs and so forth. And so it doesn't evolve naturally. And it's harder, but still necessary to retrofit the suburbs.
So here we are in the inner city. This is downtown, and this is where you would have me live. And for the price of my 5-bedroom house in Evergreen, I'd get a 2-bedroom condo in there. So we would be living on top of one another, you know. And there's lots of coffee shops and nice restaurants and stuff in walking distance. So it's kind of fun to come downtown and stuff. But there's all kinds of construction. There's no houses. It's all apartments. And there's a park over there, but I don't really want to know what goes on over there. And the other thing too is that frankly, I don't want to live in the inner city because I want a new house. I like a brand new house. I like that it's clean and it's quiet. To me, this is dirty and noisy and way overpriced. It's way too expensive compared to what I can get out in Evergreen, in my house in Evergreen. So I'm happy out in Evergreen.
What is the destiny of suburbia? The dirty secret of our economy for the last couple of decades is that it's really been about creating ever more of this fabric. And we're now reaching the end of that cycle because we're entering an era of energy scarcity that is not going to permit us to continue living this way. The common argument in favor of suburbia for many years has been the idea that people want it, so therefore it must be good, it must be okay. But the future is going to compel us to live differently, whether people like it or not, or whether people want it that way or not. And this way of living is coming off the menu.
Clearly, the idea of infinite suburban sprawl is impossible to maintain. Suburbia requires a huge amount of infrastructure. And when we think of ourselves as with a global perspective on ecology and sustainability, the model of development as suburbia is really radically inferior.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a lot of people, which I'm relieved to say the least. Yeah, actually, the lady was saying that some people were actually calling for tickets, so I think it's going to be good.
Mom's not coming.
What?
She's not coming.
She's bailing out.
What are you talking about?
She doesn't want to go.
You guys got your tickets, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess I have to get ready, so.
Okay, see you then.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
I
thought at least she'd show up and, you know, put on a happy face and, you know, nice job, Evan, you know, and then she can yell at me later or something, but holy cow. Anyway, maybe I won't be as nervous, actually. Maybe I can forget about her being in the audience, you know, and just concentrate on what I'm doing. Somebody compared us putting on this play here in the suburbs to somebody putting on Apocalypse Now in Cambodia. The horror. Yeah. The mower clips the tender tips, row by row in even strips. The sharpened blade beheads the foe, and as it flies, you civilize the earth below. Hear its cries, circumcise, mow. Notice your neighbors engaging in similar labors, toiling over their turf, which is perfectly verdant and bright. But my grass is greener and grows with a nicer demeanor.
I have better things to do with my time than go to a play that basically makes fun of my home. I suppose Evan told you that his car isn't working again. The car that he specifically prohibited from working on is now going back into the shop.
Mom,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts?
Not overgrown, there's the finest schools, playgrounds and fools, sensible zoning, with rational rules, place for tax and crime are the whole place you want. Might recommend us, might recommend, I know. And even if there's no guarantee, life will be worry-free. When Armageddon comes its merry way, everybody here will gladly stay, happy to be facing Judgment Day in summer.
Actually, I was quite impressed with it. It was something different, I thought, to have it out in a community center about rural life. And I know you were laughing.
Oh, I thought the dog was adorable.
Overall, it was very nice. Yeah.
It was pretty good.
I didn't know my dad could sing like that. As well, I thought it was pretty well choreographed. It's kind of funny. It would be sweet if the suburbs were really like that. Everyone's singing and...
Yeah, I'd move there if it was
That'd
like
be
that,
pretty
but,
sweet, but
it's not, so.
Yeah.
Well, my dad would want to say that my favorite actor was him, but the dog.
I think it was pretty good.
They came.
Yeah, we had a great house. Pretty good crowd. And, well, there's a couple spots.
Well, there was
that
a few
lawnmower
little,
thing? I don't know.
There was a few
And,
floodlines.
well,
but,
a few
you know,
places we couldn't hear the piano, I guess, but...
very happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Dad, me and Holly are just gonna walk home now.
Okay, straight home.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway. Yeah, so, oh boy.
You think they liked it?
Oh, yeah, I never asked them.
Be interesting to know what they thought.
So your dad's back to sabotaging the car?
Yeah.
the need for growth. You know, obviously, North America is growing at a very good clip. People need to be accommodated somewhere. So there actually is the need for these houses and shops and so forth. And the way to do it is by saying, well, there's a certain type of growth that is actually sustainable. And that's new urbanism, smart growth. New urbanism tries to bring everything back together so that it's more compact, so that people can walk to their daily needs, and above all, be allowed to live without a car if they so wish. You know, we're not describing a kind of future utopia. Everybody who lives in North America has seen suburban sprawl and what that looks like and what that functions like. And they've also seen marvelous traditional towns. So everybody's seen both. And what the new urbanists are proposing is that the development practice revert to the pre-war development practice, because in every way it works better.
My dad kept it in the same place at the old house.
Yeah, this is good stuff for you guys.
Yeah, you should put in the credits all the good stuff by Kyle, Hong, and Nick. Okay.
Clear.
We're shooting to my neighbor's yard, but the soccer ball was mine. It was a birthday gift.
Good shot.
Yes.
This is where we were yesterday. We saw the cougar. Where?
Anyway, I guess my dad just keeps it around the house in case, you know, a burglar comes or whatever. He can defend the family.
And then I'll just, I don't know, I'll just make some dessert or something.
Yeah? Okay. That's all we need.
I can make that rum cake.
Come on, Mom. No, let's go. Let's go in the house, sweetie.
I don't know. It's just maybe like an heirloom or something like that.
This is suburban target practice at its best.
Yes.
Oh, I'm coming undone. There we go.
Yeah, she's out here. Don't worry about it.
Oh, shit.
What?
Jen! They're supposed to go to the end, or?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I play the role of Jennifer. I'm 11 years old. I live in Mackenzie. This is my real house. I don't actually live in Evergreen, and these are my parents.
And my name is Bob Laguerre. I'm not really Evan. I play Evan in this movie, but anyway, this is the house I really live in with my wife. The community is called Rocky Ridge.
This is Lake Sundance, and this is my house. I live here with my wife and my daughter. We live right on the edge of the city. The city limits are right over there, and there's not much beyond but rolling hills for now.
This is my actual daughter, though, Emma, and I don't live in Evergreen, but I live here. Not quite so far out, but I live still in the suburbs.
This is my stepson, Daniel. And I didn't even know you in the film, did I?
Yeah, our characters never met in the film.
And Daniel are actually biological siblings.
Yeah.
And Karen is our stepmom, but we do live
Here. We live here. I guess the reason why the directors chose to use actors instead of real people is that when you see suburbs on TV and commercials, advertising, movies, and all that, it is not real. That is not what the suburbs are really like. And I know, because I live here.
To get into the film, you had to live in the suburbs, and I brought some of my own stuff to the dialogue. I won't tell you what, right? You can figure it out, but...
like the one when I'm dancing on top of the green box, and like the gymnastic story, so quite a bit of it was true.
There are days when I want to run screaming away from the house, and this type of life that I've chosen.
They hire actors to make it more phony or to make it more real. That's what I'm not getting, because I don't understand, it's like contradicting itself.
I think the filmmakers used actors because like it would make a better point, and then they'd have like a say in, like, instead of people like saying like a lot, like I am. This way you get a like more range of opinions from the filmmakers and the people.
In Chaparral, there are 12 bus benches. I've managed to acquire 11 of them, and I would like the 12th one, but it's not something that I've managed to attain at this time.
One incident that we had was a child actually fell in one of the holes, and thankfully one of our officers was in the area and actually heard the child screaming, so he was able to call 911 and assist in the operation and rescue of the child, so it is rewarding.
Finn. It says featuring Kyle Grant. It says shot by, and by shot by they mean with guns, not by camera. One thing the film did get pretty accurate was how you don't know any of your neighbors. As a kid, I have no reason to, and I don't really care. But my parents know a few people, but really only because we were the first 10 houses in the community.
You can live here 5 years and barely know your neighbors, and you know, you see on TV everyone's in everyone else's business, gossiping about this person or that person's secret affair or what, you know, I mean, there's just a lot less drama.
In reality,
Real life
no one
suburbs.
really cares.
I think the biggest thing is that if they have a complaint about something, they'll probably let you know. But for the most part, people are just getting on with their lives, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And on TV, they have huge lawns.
Yeah, you don't really get
that
huge
here.
lawns out here.
Yeah, right now I drive, I mean, just to get a coffee, like I want a coffee, just want the actual stuff. I'm going to drive 10 minutes to our, would you guys call it the power center? Yeah, that type of thing.
I know some fathers that work downtown, and they're now working till 6, 7 o'clock at night. They get home, and they have maybe half an hour to spend with their children if they're lucky before they go to bed. And sometimes now they're working 6 days a week and then they have 1 day off. Now, how is that a life?
You know, living out in the suburbs, we pretty much have access to everything. To get to gymnastics, 15 minutes. To go to karate, it's 10, 15 minutes. I teach in the community here, so it's quick and easy to get to. I'm actually like only 5 minutes away. To get groceries, 5, 10 minutes.
I've lived in other countries where, you know, you've got to take a bus everywhere, you've got to take mass transit, you got to carry your groceries. It's not a lot of fun. It's better when you can live someplace that you can pack up the SUV, drive it over to the grocery store, buy 2 weeks worth of groceries, come back, and you do that once every 2 weeks or once a month if you're really good at it.
There isn't a school here, there isn't
a store
here. I mean, everyone who has to, like, I mean, everyone coming into this community is coming here because they live here. Like, if they're driving in, I mean, there would be no other reason unless you're selling drugs.
Which is also a selling point when you have...
Not the drugs thing.
We saw this guy. This guy got busted.
Like a block from our house, there was a major, and by major drug bust, we mean one guy got picked up by one patrol car.
And what was really great is that for 3 years I'd been saying, look, there's that guy, he's selling drugs. And they're like, oh, Karen.
What's wrong? Every Friday at
eventually-
noon, he'd like come and sit on this bench by himself.
But other people would watch, so there's a community activity for
Yeah,
you
I guess,
watching.
there you go. We were snooping around in that. So.
But I was right, he was selling drugs.
You know, I mean, there have been thousands of books written criticizing suburban living. And it dates back not 40 years, but 100 years, 150 years. People have been making the same complaints for so long. And so, you know, the standard critique of suburbia, I don't think is going to have any impact on suburbanization. You know, it hasn't in the last 100 years. Why would it suddenly start having an impact now?
I think in the end, when economic conditions, and it may be a combination of the cost of housing, an energy crisis, demographic pressures, other things may cause this kind of reassessment of the suburban paradigm to occur. But until that happens, it's a very intractable pattern. It has a tremendous momentum, which is very, very hard to change.
The answer to what can be done to the existing sprawl, it has to be retrofitted. Subdivisions need to be leavened by different housing types, so they're not sort of social monocultures. So what you want to do is mix them up a bit. And of course, you need housing that's more affordable, like townhouses interspersed amid the housing. Technically easy to do. You knock down an out-of-date single-family house and you fit 4 townhouses on the lot, right? Here's actually a very exciting idea. The suburban houses have these front setbacks that are worthless, 25 feet. But let's say you build in front a workplace. Not only do you have a place to work at home, but you actually progressively urbanize the subdivision by actually making the setback shorter. It actually looks more urban, it behaves more urban, and I'm not saying it should be a workplace. I mean, it's all right if it were, for example, a rental apartment. So what if it's a rental apartment? Great. And then there are the shopping centers that fall out of use, they die. Those are great locations for future town centers because, of course, they have all this gray field parking. And what you do is you take the shops, leave them in place, and reactivate them by adding apartments and offices to them. Whenever you look at a piece of suburbia, think of it as first-generation construction.
Where we drive to our big shopping center, it's not really a place where people congregate, right? If they could orient that so you sort of drop your car and you can walk and sit and spend some time there, I think people would do it. I don't know.
I look around and I see, you know, a kid across the street playing with a piece of chalk, and I see a kid up the street playing with a basketball hoop, and I remember, you know, building giant forts with everyone in my neighborhood, and we all went to the same school, and we all, you know, I don't necessarily think that that is a negative, but it is a difference, and I think society as a whole, we are moving into suburbia. You know, we are moving ourselves, our lives, our children into these communities and these neighborhoods where it just, I guess it looks like something it isn't, you know.
We chase these jobs and these perfect ideas of what life really is, but we never get to stop and enjoy what it is that we're chasing. I see so many people that are unhappy in their lives because of the situation they've put themselves in. Hopefully I can get out of that.